it was.
Oh, you're just too excited, aren't
Oh, sorry.
you? Over the moon.
Yeah.
Been so long, I nearly forget how to do this.
Don't ask me.
And if the people we know are still around. Just said good day. It's getting cool. What's the temp? You see from that?
17. It's
Ooh,
actually not that cold.
it's cool. Uh, uh, Summer has ended. What if Mel's up?
I doubt it.
Bed by now, right?
Yeah.
We're not on for long. Just a few minutes. We're going to bed too. See, RIC bullying. I have had both COVID shots. That's excellent. That means you're fully protected. Well, best you can be. But that's good. Because this thing's not going anywhere in a hurry. It'll be around for quite a while. Must be getting warmer where you are now, that's for sure. Well, they're a bit foolish, bully. I mean, it's proven its efficacy protects 80 degrees. That's not that hot. It's getting cool here though. It's about 80 degrees here. It's cold. Did I get my vaccine? No, because we're in a long line. They have a run out here called A, 1B, and etc. But yeah, we'll be getting ours because we can't fly around the world without it. There'll be a requirement for anyone travelling to have a COVID vaccine passport. And that's just how it is. Yeah, but we'll line up, won't we? We'll get ours.
Yeah. When the time's right.
Hmm. And I've always told people, if you don't want to get the shot, don't get it. It's fine by me. You don't want to wear a mask, don't wear one. Did read of a African politician this week, a doctor actually, who has for months been saying, don't take the vaccine, it's stupid, it's not real, believe me, I'm a doctor. Yeah, he died yesterday of COVID. I'd rather sit in my room than get ransom to travel. No, there's no ransom. Look, when I came to Australia way back in 1969, we had to get shots. Yes, you know, a little jab in the arm. And if you didn't get that, you couldn't go to Australia or Canada at the time, believe it or not, Hammers. Anyway, that's how it was. Vaccines are nothing new. If you go to a South American country, there's quite a few vaccines that are requested you take before you go there. Stop you get certain viruses. That's been going on for about 80, 90 years. It's not new. And when you go to Antarctica, if you're fortunate enough to be part of any type of expedition, for 6 months, you get vaccine shots for all different sorts of things. I think the uptake rate's been pretty good in the US. I thought it'd be a lot lower, Bully. I mean, at one stage they were talking about only 40%. G'day, Tony. 40% we're going to take it. That's not the case. Over 200 arms have had jabs in them. Well, this is, what are there? I counted best I could last week. There were 26 vaccines around the world. Some not that good. The Indo-Chinese one, not good. Russian one apparently not that good. But Pfizer, Moderna, what are the other main ones? AstraZeneca. Yeah, life's a roulette. You get to get lucky or not get lucky. But trust me, most people in Australia, they'll get the jab where they can get it. Moderna, oh, nice change of words there, Hammers. What about AstraZeneca? That's another one you could try. Look, as far as I'm concerned, Bully, if you've taken the vaccines and it gives you a lot more immunity and people around you don't, Bully, you'll probably be here in 20 years. Probably. But, you know, it's one of those things. People are always wary, and there's no reason not to be wary. In Australia, I think we've only had about, I think it's very low, maybe 600,000-700,000 people, and they've all been like in nursing homes, and vulnerable, disabled, emergency workers, those that are doing the quarantining, doctors, nurses, they all got it first. But I believe it's rolling out for the over 50s in a couple of days, I think. But like I say, you don't have to take it. You don't want to take it, don't take it. It's not necessary. Count seeds off the pension list. I'm not pension age yet, but I'm not too far away. I'll be happy to get that age. Yeah, I do remember you saying this would just go away in a few months, but you've seen the light. This is not going anywhere for years. Very sad reading online today in India yesterday. 401,000 people contracted the virus in 24 hours. India is in turmoil. I feel very sorry for them. I mean, there is that thought process where people don't want it to be real. It's too horrendous to think. But it's real. It's like any other nasty we've had in the past, like smallpox, diphtheria, whooping cough. They're still around, but in very small quantities. Black Death, believe it or not, there's still cases of the Black Death, the plague, in certain countries. They haven't gone anywhere. And how far does the Black Death go back? 2,000 years? So these viruses don't really disappear. They're quelled or suppressed. And our planet is out to kill everything on it, including us. I've always thought the US opened up way too quickly. It was ridiculous. It was all about money. And most of the instances around Europe, America, and everywhere else that opened up really early did it for one reason: money. And of course, the US, led by a person who kept saying, we're round the corner. It's just going to magically disappear. We'll all be holding hands in Easter of April 2020. Well, a lot of people were holding hands, but it was usually someone in a PP unit in a hospital holding the hand of someone who was passing away because the family weren't permitted to be there. Culpable negligence in my book. To give you an idea, I did read, well, and you probably know about it more than I do, but in the US, if you've had like your 2 shots, you don't need to wear a mask in public. You do not need to wear a mask at all because you've had your 2 shots. I don't like, today we had a football game that me and the missus were going to go to. It was both our teams playing. It would have been great. But at the last minute we had 1 case of COVID-19. Just 1. And they shut everything down. And we thought, okay, that's it, it's just a football match, no big deal. A mask will be mandatory again for another week, which is fine. It's the world we live in. Are there people in the streets in my state or country protesting about wearing masks? No. I don't know why you need to protest. If you don't want to wear a mask, don't wear a mask. If you don't want to take the vaccine, don't take the vaccine. You don't have to protest and go in the street, you just don't have to do it. It's not compulsory in our country at all. But if we want to travel, yeah, other countries say, yeah, you can come here, but you'll need to have the vaccine. So unless you want to stay where you are forever, and this will be ongoing, like I say, for many, many years. But the question whether it's real or not is a redundant thought process now. It's very real. Many people have died. Many people are sick and dying in countries that simply ignored everything for money. Crazy. How long will it last? I don't know. I'll be honest with you, Bully, I don't think it's ever going to go away. In one form or another, there'll be outbreaks in the future, which we will probably, in your case, you've had the 2 shots, you'll have a certain immunity to certain things, but if there's a variant, you may need a booster shot. But that'll be easy for you, that'll just be 1 shot. We talk in terms of the last recorded pandemic of 1917 through to basically 1920, and even a bit of 21, that's 3.5 years. And that had no vaccines and there was no like chemicals to help you. People just died in their millions, up to about 80 million people died. I think the world death total is about 8 or 9 million now, which is horrendous. But it's nowhere near what it was. Yeah, I did a bit of research into that, Hammers, in my family history around York or Yorkshire. Very much so. Some people didn't even leave their own village for 4 or 5 generations. It's only really the turn of the industrial age in the late 19th century, early 20th century, that people moved mainly for work and opportunity. But yeah, it's not the case today, of course. Most people have family in a country, say Canada or America, and they might have 10 family members in 10 different states. That would never have been the way 100 years ago, ever. And lots of people did the same thing, Sam, as I know in my family there were blacksmiths on one side of the family that went, I don't know, 10 generations. You're 1.5 miles from your job. Well, that's good. It's very cheap on fuel, bully, and you're limited to the exposure to have. But now you have had the vaccine, you must have confidence, and you probably, if you're smart, I'd still wear in confined places, even if you've had the 2 shots. Because America's not out of the woods with the virus, but it might be wise just to wear a mask in those areas where there's a lot of crowds very close together. That would just be common sense. Oh my goodness, it's like a blast from the past. Hello, Danny G. You're at work, doing paperwork. Oh, I see. Is that in the jar? Yeah, I think it's a wise choice to do, bully. It's not that you're immune. You've been given a lot of protective layers having the 2 vaccine shots. So you're better off than most people. But I'll tell you what, if you wear a mask, you probably won't get the common cold. You may not contract the flu. The flu numbers I highlighted to all of you guys about a year ago, how staggeringly low they are. They're incredibly low now in Australia. And I'm sure it's the same in your own countries. I don't see it as a travel threat. I see it as protecting the people that we move to another country for a holiday, to protect them. Why is it right if I came to another country and I passed on a virus to them? That's not good. I will never take the lethal injection. Well, I don't know how many people have died by having the COVID. Let's just check. Bully's in the room, and Danny's had her shots. They apparently are speaking to us from the other side, Hammers. It's incredible. This is a medium channel now. No, it wasn't lethal. We're going on a little adventure next weekend to an undisclosed location. No B-class vans will be involved, but a nice country cottage, nice country pub, steam engines. I think one of the things is that the reality of any vaccine, there are side effects to some people. There's no question about that. That is true. But it's usually in the low 3 to 4%. It's like bruising. It's like having a headache maybe, a rash. They're not uncommon, but they're not like predominant. You picked up on that, Hammers. No fooling you, I guess. If they were dead, they couldn't comment. That is unless we had contact with the other side. Do you believe in ghosts, Hammers? I don't mean ghosts with hammers, you know, going around scaring people with hammers. G'day, rejects. But ghosts in general, like the afterlife. Do you believe in those? I did say in a big statement around about August last year, I've got a very good memory, that I believe by the 4th of July, the rogue king and his followers may all end up in court and probably prison. I'm pretty much on target at the moment, you know. There's a rustling and a rounding of the crew. I believe in UFOs. Well, I've seen things I can't explain in the sky. I can't. I mean, I remember in Exmouth in about 1986, me and my brother-in-law saw these things swoop down from the sky, and I'm thinking, that's not normal. But they didn't probe or take us away. Just scared the shit out of us. Do I know what they were? No. I think one of the biggest things is an old saying by a very prominent writer, and it goes basically, you know, the only thing you should fear is fear itself, because we can sometimes just scare ourselves to death over something so insignificant that it haunts you for the rest of your life. I saw a UFO when I was a kid. I would have been 27, 28, something like that when I saw my first one. And I put it down to a UFO because I can't explain what it is. There is and was an American military base in Exmouth, but it was not aircraft. That's the only thing I can tell you. I think the best statement I could make is I don't disbelieve in unidentified flying object. I don't disbelieve because I've seen something I didn't understand. So I don't disbelieve in them, I just don't know what they are. But it's getting cooler here, dropping down to mid-70s, jumpers and Ugg boots on, long pants, socks, freezing weather. And Bully says he's quite cold, he's got 80 degrees there today. Is VMAC there somewhere? VMAC, if you're there, she's probably busy swimming. It's summer nearly in Canada. The veggies are going well. I've got some of the cooler weather veggies starting to take off now, which is good. Parsnips, turnips, silver beet, all sorts. Peas, carrots, beetroots. And believe it or not, we just pulled the last watermelon off the watermelon bush.
You've got one more growing there.
No, I think that one's done. So the Ugg boots, yeah. But I've been wearing my Ugg boots. I wore them this morning, it was cold. It's going to be 8 degrees Celsius tomorrow morning, Danny, here. That is like bloody cold. You're in your RV, cool. It's nearly time to use it, I think. No, you couldn't live off watermelon, Danny. It's not possible. You would be eating 24/7. But I still don't think you'd live off it. Done for the year. Good times ahead, Rujex. Good times ahead. We've been real busy with family. Mobs of them here. Doesn't have many nutrients at all. Tastes bloody good, watermelon, but nutrients wise, pretty limited, Danny. Trust me, you'd be paper thin if you ate that for a year. So what's everyone being able to do? I know Rujex will be able to wander around in his RV in Canada. Might be limitations, but he can still wander around there. Texas is opening up a bit, I think, in regards to people movement, but we're not out of the woods yet. Have I heard of the 2027 guy? No. But I've laughed at many people over many decades telling me the world's going to end on Thursday. Some people say Friday. Some people say Saturday week. But I've always laughed at these people because the world will not end. We might, but not the world. The planet could be a ball of fire. Wouldn't matter. Even in 10 billion years, it might be a little speck and it'd still be there. Or portions of it. Okay, Danny, you can live off watermelon. Guess what you're getting? Instead of prime rib, carefully cured vegetables on a plate with a magnificent sauce, you're getting fucking watermelon every day. What's for breakfast? Watermelon. What's for dinner? Watermelon. What's for tea? Actually, we're going to give you rock melon for tea. We want to fill you up. Oh God, are you off me completely now, Danny? Are you wasting away? I had the last, what we did, we had the last of the beef stew I made about 3 days ago. My God, it was good. Yum. Veggies from the garden, meat from some cow I did not personally know. So who's the 2027 guy? Importance, Hammers? Does he predict things or is explaining how the world is coming to its demise? The only meat I eat lately is chicken and bacon. We don't eat beef a lot actually, do we? No, we don't actually. Eat a lot of veggies. He wakes up in 2027, makes fear. Well, there's one good thing in that context of your sentence, Hammers. The world still is around in 2027. That's at least another 6 years we've got. I saw a series done by a guy in 2005. I don't remember his name because he ended up taking his channel down. But he came from 2154. Hammers, seriously. He had all these modern things around and it looked half believable. He talked about what music was like and how food was produced on a mass basis, and it was like sort of tasteless but full of proteins and minerals. So yeah, he did sort of a gig for a year or so. No, he couldn't be the only one there. Hammers, you have to work out the logic in that. I'll let you work that out. Why could he not be the only one there? A, he's using TikTok. Hammers, think about it for a second. Someone has to be operating that system. There has to be an internet for uploading, etc. He won't have the technology for one person to do all of that and still call it TikTok. Got to get the nuances and how people deliver their message. So in 2027, the planet still survives with people on it. That's good. There was a movie. Who was it? There was, trying to think of the actor that was in this movie. Remember he went and contacted, was it his father? I'm trying to think of the actor's name. Who was the actor in the Postman movie?
Kevin Costner.
That's who it was. Remember the movie with Kevin Costner? And he was talking to the past or the future. I can't remember exactly. I didn't watch all of the movie, but it's a bit like Mr. 2027, I guess. I have no skepticism. Anything's possible. I truly believe that, Hammers. Anything is possible. But there's a lot of BS in between the possibilities of truth and fiction. If there was a substantial person, to say this Mr. 2027, All the major networks would have picked up by now. World leaders would be contacting him. He would be off the air and be in direct contact, say, with the Pentagon. That's how that would work. Would he be able to just upload to the futuristic TikTok, being the only person on the planet? No, not possible. Could be funny though, I imagine. Could be quite humorous, tongue-in-cheek. See, Hammers, if you wanted to be an investigative journalist, you could find out the IP address, even if it's a VIN IP. You find him, where he is, and who he is today. Because there's little trackers, you know, if he uploaded today from a certain spot, you'd know where he is and when it was uploaded. It's probably going to be uploaded with this timestamp of 2021. I remember sitting around with a bunch of people having a very weird conversation years ago. It was in regards to the future, and we were all asked, I could ask you this question too, what future do you want? Not just for yourself, but for everybody. What future do you want? There is no argument, Hammers. You have a misconception. Certainly not arguing with you. It's an interesting question. Gave a lot of thought-provoking answers from people. Obviously, world peace came up a lot. Not having hunger, equality for all men, women, children of every race. But there isn't races. My argument to that point that was raised, and saying, but there is only one race. It's the human race. Oh, but there are dark-coloured people. Yeah, okay, well, there are dark-coloured human people. It's not a hard thing to work out. There is no race. Usually racism is bred out of fear. Generally, the differences. And people are wary about change. They don't like change a lot. Like if you lived Hammers, can you imagine overnight with 6 buses came into your town and they were all very dark-skinned Ethiopians that were now being put into your town and village, and you might be sitting there at the bar and gentleman walk in and said, we'd like some goat's milk, please. You say, we don't sell goat's milk. Oh my goodness, I'll bring you a goat. It's the differences that make people fear. But there are no races on this planet. Used to be 2 about a couple 100,000 years ago. One was unfortunately died out as a species, I suppose you could say, Neanderthal. But there's only Homo sapiens left. It's just us, Hammers. Well, governments can certainly implement fear. We know that as the truth. You know, Americans have been taught to fear, as all people in Europe were taught to fear things like communism, Asians, fear the Asians. I remember when I was a kid in Australia and the Italians had been here for a while, then the Greeks came and people sort of were racist to them. Then the Vietnamese came and they were racist to them. And then everyone come and everyone sort of had their turn at being attacked. Would have been identical in Canada, without question. But the governments can add to that fear. There's no question about that. Create an illusion of a big spectre. These monster people from a certain country, they're out to get us. It's been used a lot. A lot of governments actually create fear and then create a solution. And then people look at government saying, wow, we had this terrible thing and now you've fixed it. When in fact, they created the problem and then they fixed it, knowing that they could always fix it. And the people love them because they did it. Now eat your Soylent Green. Well, see, I don't know why you don't know these people, Hammers. Why would the Ethiopians last only one night? That shows a lot of fear from people. What are they coming to do? Eat your babies? I don't think so. Most people on the planet want exactly the same thing as each other. Somewhere good to live, good food, roof over your head, not fighting wars. If you asked most of the people on the planet, that's exactly how they would answer. But because these are tall, dark Ethiopians, they must be from another planet, I guess. I remember there was a funny guy in Australia. He ended up being very embarrassed. He was part of a white supremacist movement, a group of people that came from the UK in the 60s and made a club and all that sort of thing, Hammers. Went on and on about it. He hated the Jews and he hated black men. Well, someone did a bit of research, Hammers. His great-great-grandfather was an African, and one of his great-great-grandmothers was Jewish. His sort of movement died in the arse, sort of disappeared. Interesting, isn't it? Well, they can just stay at home and find that. Well, where's home? We talk about our ancestral past, Hammers. My history goes back to 1066. Our family's in the Doomsday Book, and trust me, I know where I come from. Should I have stayed there? If I'd have done that and everyone else had done that, Australia would still have only probably about 500,000 Aboriginals with probably 830 to 840 tribes, just eating kangaroo, lighting a barbecue, not working for anyone, just living a good life, if we had just stayed home. Didn't happen that way though. You're not in Canada because you're an Aboriginal from Canada. You came on tall ships like we did and went onto the beach and said, no one here seems to be claiming the place, so we'll call it Canada. A lot of English and Scottish influence in Canada. And French, of course, let's not forget the French. But I think Canada's no different than Australia. We've got every person from different countries living here. Generations, we've got Chinese that have been here since the first fleet. Not the same ones, because that would make them about 260 years old. But their descendants, just take a bit of tobacco. But that's where that question with that group, we had that sort of hypothetical, Hammers, where we said, what world do you want to live in? What's your ideal world? And I don't think I heard anyone talk about racism. They just talked about the fundamentals of life. Everyone, being equal and fair, for justice still to be delivered. Yeah, I don't think it's any different. It's the same. It's the same process. Those with the big stick took what they wanted. In our case, they were probably fire sticks with, musket balls, etc. It's very easy to be persuaded if you're an Aboriginal of a country 200-300 years ago and you stand there with a spear and say, this is my country, you can't have it. And then someone walks up with a musket barrel and blows my head off. And the other tribes think, yeah, they can have it. Most Australians have got, Canada not so much, but most Australians have a history of colonisation and prisoners in Australia. Every second person's got a history of being related to a prisoner of Her Majesty. There was one of those documentaries, the reverse type of racism. I remember, do you remember a guy called Louis Theroux? He's a British filmmaker, documentarist, Louis Theroux. And he went to about 4 or 5 different African nations. And without doubt, he faced aggressive people. Mr. Morales, g'day. And it was interesting because it was like they had meetings and talked to the producers, and most of the village people had never seen someone of that coloured skin, and so they were frightened of him. No, we were actually, it's funny, amazing. You know, a country like Australia that was populated by criminals turned out pretty good. Amazing. I did listen to Mr. Biden, a short video explaining how he's going to close down all the private prisons. Brilliant idea. Trust me. You run a prison for profit, you ain't running it for the prisoners. They're like dog kennels. So I thought that was a pretty good decision by Mr. Biden to eliminate all private prisons in the US. Prisons for profit only. Yep, I reckon rejects, like I said, if we gathered a family from every country on the planet and put them in a big football oval, we all gave them turn to speak and asked them what they want, they'd all say the same thing. It's exactly what they would say. They'd say the same thing. Peace, equality, no wars. What's bullshit? I always found it weird. I mean, I grew up with racism, don't get me wrong. I grew up with weird things like women not allowed to be in pubs. As a little kid, I used to sell them a newspaper, and they'd ask me to go and get them a shandy and a packet of crisps and bring it back to the car because they weren't allowed inside. Aboriginals in this country were always allowed at the back of the pub with a big grill that was only big enough to stick a carton of beer through or a flask of wine. And they were charged double. Yeah, that's the sort of world I grew up in. Like with most parents, the wives used to get beaten up. Normal thing for a drunk bloke to do. Scare the hell out of the kids with his belt and then go drinking some more. Making room for vaccine refuseniks. Oh, I see. You're now going to tell me there are going to be FEMA camps for people that don't get the vaccine? Is that the next step, Hammers? The punishment for not taking the vaccine could be so simple as just dying from the virus. No government institution, no camps, nothing like that. Look at where poor India is. I truly, must be horrendous in India. I know the world, we've stepped up and we've sent a whole heap of stuff. We've stopped any planes returning from India for, I think, 14 days or whatever it is, because it's just a nightmare. And the wife and I were discussing this subject yesterday about people who left our country before the pandemic and got caught and couldn't get back. We should help them. But the people that left 3 and 4 months ago to get married or go on holiday in India, no, I'm sorry, I have no sympathy for you. Age has not much to do with it. Hammers, it's a relative term of numbers. But I don't think this is over by a long shot. I think the variants that will keep raising their ugly heads, those that are wise enough to take the vaccines, will maybe only need a booster shot. I'm sure Danny could probably let us know that that could be the case. I believe it will be the case, because what happens with mutants is that you might be getting a new variant of it, but protected to a fairly large extent because of your vaccine. But they might just have to top you up with a booster of some sort to get to the RNA and fix whatever this new mutant may be. But if you've never had a vaccine, I think what will happen is when a new mutant that comes with a much stronger outcome, in other words, a higher death rate, it's not good for those people that don't have at least some sort of backup now. Well, I've always been going on for the last 2 years, Hammers, about the spot on the planet which is ready to be a firecracker is Taiwan, because of China's insistence. The story of Taiwan's quite interesting if you read into it. It tells you that because it's not mainland China, that basically they went over and had self-rule for quite a while. But China doesn't like the idea, and didn't like the idea of not letting Hong Kong stay democratic. But Taiwan, I've said for the last couple of years, is not good. Hello, chick. But if you look at the conflicts around the world, it's not just like border conflicts and threats. A lot of economic muscle is being used by China in particular on certain countries. We've suffered it, and we've said, okay. I think China's realised that, we can do without them. Would we suffer for a short term? Yeah, we would. And we are. But we're just getting on with it. No one's been brave enough in Australia yet to say to China, I tell you what, you can no longer have our iron ore, our copper, our silver, our bauxite. You can't have any of that. You can't have any of the lithium that we've got the biggest mine in the world in Australia. You can't have any of that. They might go, what? We can't buy it off you anymore? No, we've decided not to sell to you. Like you putting tariffs and restrictions on our products, we've decided not to sell you iron ore. G'day, JP. You're up late. But we're a versatile mob down here. If we lose the line of productivity, we'll just find another one. We drove past the big lithium mine between Coolgardie and Kalgoorlie a couple of years ago. And we spoke to someone not long ago. And it's massive. It is a massive production. Yeah, we've been real busy, JP, family. You know what that's like. Yeah, I think it's getting a ridiculous price at the moment. The poor old Chinese having to pay a lot. But imagine if we cut it off and said you can't have it. You can have the crappy Brazilian stuff. The stuff from Brazil that crumbles in your hand, not like the iron ore in Australia. Trust me, if China cut off everything that they were buying from Australia, we'd go, yeah, that's not good. It's a bit rough, but we'd move on. We're lucky enough not to be at a disadvantage. In other words, other people will buy our stuff, even if we've got to give them other stuff, different stuff. Australians are very resilient when it comes to that. So the big stick and threat from China has actually backfired on them. I read recently, you might have read, I don't know, but in China they use a lot of thermal coal for keeping people warm, like in their big generators. Well, because they put a sort of a blockade on it for a little while, in the middle of winter in China they were going cold and things were breaking down. Just because some politicians in China believe that it's good to wave a big stick. Oh yes, thanks very much, Hammers. Black Kitty, fuck off, get out of there. I'm building a thermal nuclear device at the moment, Hammers. And as you can see, you poke your finger in the hole in the wall. That will be an integral part I watched a couple of videos recently. He always makes me laugh. Nice bloke, but yeah, makes me laugh. I agree, Jono, that's what I've been reading. People have been pissed off. But what people in Australia do is if they can't sell something, they grow something else or look for a new market. It will certainly backfire in the long term in China, which is silly. Look, we've got so many, I don't know how many Chinese people in Australia, but it must be at least a couple of million of them, and they're lovely people. And you'll meet them, and this is what a Chinese person sounds like in Australia. How you going, JP, all right? You go, yeah, Mr. Chin, pretty good. How are you? Bonza, mate. That's Chinese in Australia, because they're Australian. We get on marvellously. They're highly respected and make good takeaway. Hammers has been with the kickboxing champ, right? I actually went for Golden Gloves, JP, when I was younger. I did. I beat the hell out of about 8 or 9 kids. I was about 14 at the time, big burly fella. And then I came across in the semi-finals, tiny little Aboriginal. He was so small, I reckon you'd fit him in your teacup. And I never saw his hands move. I did feel the back of the canvas on my head and realised that that was the end of my boxing career. He was like lightning. He would have weighed a third of my weight, but it was like trying to fight a hornet. Impossible. Yeah, that was pretty normal, wasn't it? And most of them, even I think even the one that we caught up with, that was run by Chinese too. They do a good job. They make good roast beef and Yorkshire pudding. I used to do most of my boxing on the footy field though, not in the ring. I realised as I got older there's more fights to be held in the game of sport than there is in professional boxing. The US deployment of military to Russia border, Ukraine border, means the imminent start of World War III. Any numbers to go with that chick? Yeah, I was pretty good. But I met my match in someone who just had hands like lightning. And it's one of those adages that I've worked out when I was a kid. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. G'day, David. Good to see you. Mr. C's is here as well. Yeah, we're going to bed soon. We thought we'd just pop on because we don't have any kids at the moment in the house. No grandkids. We're free and exhausted. Not even 9 o'clock, but it feels like 3 in the morning to us. But we got to live with what we got. And like I say, if China wants to be a big bully, it won't work on Australia. I don't know. It's not that we don't give a F, but when we find something that's not working, we stop doing it and do something different. Yeah, I mean, I must admit, other than this very small Aboriginal kid who went on to be the Golden Gloves champion, look, I would have weighed, I don't know, I'm trying to think in pounds, 130 pounds at 14, something like that. It was fairly solid. I was about 6 foot tall, so I had to reach like a donkey spewing, and I beat everyone up. But this kid was too quick for me. So it's not the fight and the dog, it's the dog and the fight. I think I've watched a few over the years, the cage fighting. I don't really like that with knees and anything goes type thing. It's so many inexperienced fighters get in the ring and get absolutely destroyed. And I'm sure their lives aren't that much good afterwards. And of course, money talks, so people always promote those sort of things. But I think one of the things that's more important is that as you realise, as you grow up, that it's not about fighting. Well, I did a video probably about a year ago saying the demise of Boit. Of course, I get millions of views. I get probably half a dozen views. And I stated that it was all coming to a rapid end because the quagmire that was known as the bottom of YouTube was just melting, and it's basically gone away. Of course, there's been, I'm sure, I don't know, but I'm sure there's been new characters formed, and following, the same mob will follow that, and get some sort of enjoyment of poking a stick at them. But most of them have gone and disappeared, which is for the best. Yeah, like I say, I watched a few of the MMAs, but they're brutal, particularly the inexperienced fighters who get hammered. We've just been so busy with family, which is good. We're not complaining, but we are getting away next weekend, JP. We're going down to a little country town. It's got a steam train. It's got a magnificent pub. And we're staying in a little cottage, going with a couple of friends, so it should be good. That's a big adventure holiday at the moment, as we can't go to New Zealand because they've just banned West Australians because one person got the virus. The biggest weapon in life is not your fist, it's your tongue. Which you'd have to use a lot, hammers. I'm pretty sure. We had a 3-day lockdown because of this guy in the quarantine, hotel quarantine. He caught it off. They don't even know how he caught it. He was nowhere near the damn area. So we had a 3-day lockdown till last Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And this week they had another one person that he lived with contract the virus. So the 60,000 people that were going to watch the Eagles and Freo today, Jono, weren't allowed to go. It was played in an empty stadium again. But yeah, no, we just deal with it. I mean, I think we've got a mandatory mask area for another week. That's okay. We just do what's necessary. We just listen to the health experts. I indeed, chick. Oh, Danny wants Jono to... Oh, I think what's Danny's trying to say, JP, is a private stream. Just tell her, pay for view. I think the best advice anyone could give, and I've given it, is just play it smart. If you're in a country that has everything moving around, well, don't move around as much as they do. But we all have to adapt. You can go screaming and fighting into change, but it's a lot easier to work out what is the best method for you and not fight it. Work with it. Use it to your advantage. Oh, and Danny says, yeah, private stream will do. First words Danny says as JP goes on the screen. G'day, JP. What are you wearing? And he'll say a 3-piece suit. $100 for every item of clothing you want me to remove. And she says, how many items of clothing you got on? He says 312 pieces. pretty bloody cold where we are. Tomorrow morning's going to be 8 degrees, Jono. I've always thought, and I did naively think that the internet would be a great way for people to share knowledge. That's all I've ever done with my videos, is watched other people, learned from them. People have sent me emails saying they've learned from me. And that's what I always thought it was going to be about. Not, you know, two schoolgirls behind a shed having a smoke, arguing, poking each other in the eye online. Well, we had a recent death of COVID from a return traveller, I think last week, and that's the first death in Australia for a year. Because we locked down, we just go into lockdown. Everyone wear masks. Like this football game today would have had 60,000 people on it. No one went. No one's protesting about it. That's true, JP. Danny G basically likes to drive in the car while it rains and swears. That's her genre. That's what she does. She screams and shouts obscenities while there's thunder and lightning. There's probably a market that she could, you know, really seize to be her own. I think that's the ultimate thing that people have done that makes me angry to an extent, and that is scaring people. Why? What is? I mean, I ask this of all of you. What is the reward of being such a prick that you just scare people? What's your reward in that? There is none. Yeah, we just do that in this country. We just lock it down. It's like shows, I don't watch them either, like, you know, you've got Big Brother all around the world. It just, you know, makes people, they derogatize people, they belittle them, all for the entertainment of others. It's a bit like the modern day Colosseum. Not many people get killed, but they still suffer indignation for ratings. That's terrible. We were talking about India for the last couple of days here, David. It's absolutely horrendous. And they don't have the facilities we have. It's a fairly modern country, but you know, you're talking 1 billion something people, and they all don't live in flats and houses. Yeah, you've never lived that down. His Gold Coast stripping days. You go to bed? Yeah, I'll be in a sec. Mrs. Eads is going to find the pillow. Oh, they've always done that, David. They've always had open fire, but not in the numbers. I know there's a video I saw where this company makes up these 2 or 3 layer brick pyre mounds, so that's their business, and they just can't make them quick enough. Live and let die. Dun, dun. Yeah. Probably one of the greatest bands the planet has ever known, the Beatles. If anything, if you were analytic, you would have to say the Beatles were unbelievable songwriters. They were the people that did the method of getting the tune right first, followed by the lyrics and melody. No, me and the wife were talking, Jono, about how the people that were caught out in Europe, India, everywhere, even in the US, before the pandemic, and how we strongly believe they should get all the assistance they can. But not the people that went in the last few months for a holiday or a wedding. I'm sorry, I don't care if you never come back. You went on holiday during a pandemic and got married in a pandemic. The Chippendales, well, maybe you're the only one that's actually found my true history. No, it was never the thunder from down under. Mind you, if I eat egg salad, there's a chance there'll be a fair bit of thunder down under. It's a true story. I'm not kidding you. My wife can back me up. I was rather embarrassed, but I played a lot of sports, so I had a fairly good physique. Now I'm old and withered, all right, but probably 20 years ago it was a bit different, and I had a couple of ladies approached me and wanted me to be a stripper at a hen's night. I was saying, you're kidding me. They said, no. And I said, I thank you for the offer, but I'll have to decline. Geez, you're going back a bit there, Hammers. What about Betsy on the side of the B-52? Or B-29, actually, wasn't it? Yeah. Betty Boo. One thing I haven't seen a lot, and I'm pretty sure it's because of the circumstances we're all in, not many people laugh anymore. Not many people see humour. Good, David. Yeah, we're just about done. I'm doing a little bit of an extension of a patio at the moment, but getting some wrought iron put between the limestone pillars. You didn't never sort of finish, David, you know what I'm saying, but finished as. Looking forward to the wrought iron going up the front. We've been waiting about 6 months. The guy that's doing it, he's brought bits and pieces out and they're magnificent, but he's a perfectionist. So it'll get done when he's ready, I guess. Well, there's always been people that will deny reality. There's no question about that because they don't want to face it. That's the bottom truth, and people don't like that when I say that. But the truth is that people are denying something is because they usually don't want to face it. Yes, the amount of money we've put aside ready for the big welcome is unbelievable. You know, we have fireworks on standby, everything. Yeah, we can sit back and enjoy life and look after all the grandkids, David. That's all we've done for the 3 weeks. They left tonight, the last mob. So I'm going to sleep really well. Love them to death, don't get me wrong. But we had a swag of them. It's great. I was holding our youngest grandson today. He's 1 in July, I think. You get a lot of joy and happiness. You know, you muck around, sing and play with them, and the chuckles and laughter that kids give you is a reward in itself. But the bigger ones, as they get older, get quite demanding. Like, I'm still hungry. You've heard this. If you've got grandkids, you know what I'm saying. I'm still hungry. You dish it up. I don't like that. So you don't want this? Nah, I want something else. Do you want a sandwich? Yeah. Come in with a sandwich. There you go. What do you think? No, I don't like that. I said, right, come into the kitchen, open all the cupboards in the fridge. I'm going to go and sit down. You get whatever you damn well like. That didn't work. Yeah, there's lots of people that haven't had the opportunity around the planet to catch up with family, let alone grandkids. And we've just got to do what we need to do. I've always said, and this is just my aspect at looking at life, life is far more dramatic, interesting, humorous than any movie that ever could be produced. There are things that happen in my life that should be movies, but there ain't. Life's really good if you live it. I know we've got a lull in between looking after grandkids and kids, but I'm not sure when the next break will be. But it's been good catching up with you all. Nice to see you. Hammers, Danny, David, even Chick was in here for a while. Who else was in here? I'm trying to think. Come on, memory. Not too many other people, but there were a few. But a good catch up with you. I hope you all have a good day, week. I'm sure you're going to have a good year. It is actually, we're guilty of that, Dave. Everywhere we've been around the world, we always find a corner cafe. Either have something to eat or drink and just watch their world pass by. Some funny things we saw in Germany. Germans are very funny people. Yeah, good, Jono. Thanks for that. Yeah, we haven't had much opportunity, but I'm sure when you and Danny hook up in the private session, you'll never be back here again. There'll be no point. Danny. Anyway, have a great day. And make sure you enjoy the week. And like I say, the year will get much, much better. Danny, you're going to get a call shortly. This is what you're going to get when the phone's picked up, Jono. Yeah, it's the hospital. What do you want? Oh, the girl will say, it's an Australian on the line. All the young nurses will come over. And Danny says, is that call for me? And the girls say, nah, not for you, Danny. Nah. What's the guy's name? Danny says, Jeffrey. It's Jono, isn't it? Well, it could be. Anyway, be good, Jono. Be better, Danny. And see you later, David and Hammers. Check. See you next time.